Hello, Facebook ads people. I'm Konstantinos, and this is the Facebook ads breaking news podcast. Hi, guys. So, another podcast. Today, we're going to discuss a little bit about lookalikes for 2023. What I think that is working, what is it doesn't work. Of course, I'm preparing some very good videos for all of you. It's all about my philosophy for 2023, how to scale in 2023, all of these kind of things with updated information for all of my strategies and everything, because things are changing. I have nothing to say about the previous week. The same old stuff, nothing changed. I haven't seen any fluctuation on results and everything. The only thing that I have seen is that I have talked with a Facebook representative and I asked them, hey guys, what is happening with all of these banned accounts and all of this situation with bad customer support? And they told me that Meta had to fire a lot of people during 2022 at the end of it. And guess what? Most of these people were from the customer support. So there was a huge issue with that. And the problem is that, the situation right now with the Meta is that we're having all of this customer support, which is not correct. Maybe it's just people that are just sending template answers and it's not working. I can tell you that it's awful. There are a lot of people that they have problems with several other accounts. There are a lot of people that they have problems with their Instagram accounts. And I'm getting messages on my group, on my personal messages that, hey, please help me. My account got banned. And I can do nothing about it because, frankly, even one of my clients gets restricted. I'm sending to some friends, which are Facebook reps and everything, but at the end of the day, there's no help from that either because they just escalate the case and you have to talk with the customer support. So no special treatment or anything, just so you know. So I have, first of all, let's go to the first topic, which is all about a little bit about the creatives. I am having a cooperation with some people and they send me creatives and they don't respect some basic rules. So I wanted to put this print screen over here, which is all about Instagram 9x16 assets and the design safe zones. Because of the fact that you're having 9x16 or 4x5 or 1x1 creatives, it doesn't mean that you should go and you should use all of the space everywhere. So you need to keep safe spaces, and I'm having this picture here just to show it. So it says on Reels and Stories, 14% on the top, 20% on the bottom, because there are things like the call to action button, for example, the shop now, which is going to appear on the bottom, and if you have a message on the bottom, most probably it's going to hide your message. There are a lot of things that you need to look, so please go and please watch this and just try to avoid using things and lettering on the top and on the bottom. Just use it on the middle, which is also the superstar of each ad. Everything that is in the middle is the most important thing. Just be careful with that. This is something visual that's going to help you understand more on what to do and what not to do. But in other words, don't just go and mess all of your creatives, putting things on top, on bottom, and everywhere. Just use the middle space. Now, another thing, before we go to our main topic, which is the lookalikes. I'm not going to say that this podcast is going to be small because I say it all the time and it's not. So, but I don't have a lot of topics, to be honest with you, for this week. So I have a client which I really like. She's a very lovely lady and we're cooperating very well together, but I'm having an issue. What's the issue? I made also a video with this case study. So I took the account, it was having 0.6 ROAS with $700 spent. It's in Australia. And then I managed to scale it to, I believe the first month, 3.5K spent with 2.2 ROAS. And then I managed to take it to 4.5K with 2.6 ROAS. And then the previous month I took it to 3.2K with 6K spent. So I'm in the point that I'm seeing that I cannot scale more and increase also the ROAS, because only scaling and increasing the ROAS is an accomplishment. And let me tell you why. Because I'm seeing that my top campaigns, the ones that I have optimized and that I already have, as you know, in this channel, we optimize by stacking up campaigns, which are good, instead of focusing just in one campaign and all of our budget. So the thing is that I can see that my top campaigns, they have ROAS something like 3.8 at the best, and my lower ones, they have, let's say, 3. Okay, so I'm getting a 3.2. If I was going to get on the top campaigns 4.5 and then on the other campaigns 3.5, I would say that, yeah, we can take this the next month to 4 ROAS. But now I can understand that this is the point that is stopping, and most probably we'll be able to take it up to 3.5 ROAS, but not to 4. So this owner is coming and is telling me, but 4 ROAS is not sustainable for me because for this and that and that. So my point of view is this. Someone is coming to your account. He's improving the ROAS, he's getting you better ROAS, but you're not having the ROAS that you actually want. This is not the problem of Facebook, because if you went from 0.7 to 3.2, just keep asking to go to 4 when it's not possible with the campaigns that they were actually scaled, because in the previous months, I could see that my best campaign would go above 3 ROAS. So I understood that I could go there. But I can see that now, in the situation that I am now, I cannot go above 4 ROAS, so I understand that it's never going to happen. So I'm very honest and I'm very straightforward with all of my clients, and I'm saying that, look, this is not going to happen, don't expect it. And somebody don't understand it, and they try to think that she never told me that I am the problem, but even if she does, I will tell her to work with someone else if she thinks that she can take it to 4, or someone else can take it to 4. The problem here is this. It's the mentality that you have, that you think that this problem is going to be fixed through Facebook ads, but it's not going to be fixed by changing your average order value, your business model, whatever that may be. As I said, nobody invited you to advertise on the Facebook platform, so you need to play by the rules. What are the rules? When you see that there are specific numbers there that they're being dictated by the cost per purchase that you have, the average order value that you have, the CPMs that you're seeing, and all of these, you're taking them, you are analyzing them, and you see that you cannot get to 4 ROAS, then there's a huge issue with that, and you need to see how you can get to 4 ROAS, not through the Facebook platform, but through doing something into your funnel, to your business, to your numbers, to your logistics, to whatever. The other thing, can it improve by time? Yes. And most of the times, this is the most unfair situation. Let me tell you why. Because now she started with Konstantinos, she's working there, and then the pixel is becoming better, and maybe it can go to 4 ROAS with the same spend in 5 months from now. Do you know what she is going to think? That Konstantinos was okay, he brought it to a point, but this other guy brought it to the point of being on 4 ROAS, and it has nothing to do with me or the other guy. It has to do only with the fact that the other guy had better timing in terms of having the pixel more trained, and so on and so on. Of course, she can take another guy who's going to make it worse, okay? But knowing my capabilities, knowing what I have done in this account, I can tell you that right now it can be fixed only if she changes her numbers, if we find a super viral creative, or if we go to the situation that we have a very good trained pixel that is going to change the situation. And this is a fact, and this is why it's unlucky. You know, sometimes you find a client at the point that their ad account is ready and you're working with them and it's perfect, but maybe you are going to find them much earlier in their journey with a new pixel and everything, and the cooperation is not going to work. So you might be the same person 6 months earlier or 6 months later down their path of having a trained pixel or an untrained pixel, and you might cooperate with them and have completely different results from what you would have 6 months later, which means that you're going to work with them forever, or you're going to stop working for them. So just something that I wanted to share with, so that you will know what kind of expectations you can have from the freelancers that you are working with, or the agencies, or whatever. And here we have also a different situation, that it's not like, by the way, she didn't stop working with me or anything. I'm just expressing my way of thinking and my skepticism about it, because even if she does, maybe later she's going to find 6 months later She's not going to think that the pixel now is better. Konstantinos couldn't do it at that point. Now the new guy is doing it because of the pixel is better. She would think that this person is better, which is unfair, but this is how Facebook ads are working. I'm totally fine with that. Also, she didn't tell anything about stop working with me. She's totally fine. But I'm just saying that in another situation, somebody would say, okay, I will go with someone else, with someone else, with someone else, with someone else. And maybe the fifth guy, after all of these people training the pixel and stuff, is going to work. It doesn't mean that this fifth guy is the best guy that knows how to do Facebook ads. He was just the right person in the right place at the right moment. And then we have also the situation that here, I'm not telling you that you should sit with someone who is having very bad results for 3-4 months. Here we have a situation that every month we were increasing spend and ROAS, spend and ROAS, spend and ROAS. But now we are reaching to a situation that I can see from the numbers that the 4 ROAS is not achievable. So there are major decisions that they have to be taken from her and from me, because I wouldn't like to work also in an account that somebody is not happy with the results that they're getting. So that's it. I think that I like to share this kind of stories because it's like I'm going to the psychologist and I'm speaking. You're my psychologist that you're listening to me. And also, I like to share them not only because it helps me, but I think that during this process, it's going to help also some business owners to see how the freelancers that they are working with, they are thinking, and what is possible and what is not possible. Now, let's go to the main topic of this week. We're going to discuss about lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences on 2023, how do they work, and what can we do with them? There are several things about lookalikes, and there are several methods that I have developed, which I want to discuss with you. First of all, what are lookalikes? Lookalikes are the audiences that, for example, you have people who purchase into your store or add it to cart or have initiate checkout or whatever, and then you go and you create a lookalike out of them. Where you do that in the audience menu, where you can go and you can pick, you first create the custom audience, which is going to be people who purchased in the last 180 days, for example, and then you create a lookalike out of them, picking the country and the similarity, the percentage of the similarity. The percentage of the similarity can go from 1% to 10%, and you can do combinations like 1%, 1 to 3%, 2 to 5%, whatever. The more you increase the gap between the similarities, and based on the country and how big the country is, the bigger the audience is. For example, the 1% lookalike in United States, it's between, I believe, 2.3 and 3 million. And if you go in another smaller country, it can be 50,000. For example, my country, Greece, most probably it's 50,000 or 20,000 people. So here we have the discussion which one is the best. The best lookalikes in theory are the ones which have the best similarity. So 1%. Lookalikes are always considered the best. 1%, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And the more we increase, the more it's becoming a little bit less better, less better, less better in theory. Now, there are different structures that you can use in lookalikes in order to start using them. First of all, when can you start using them? The lookalikes, of course, need some data. So you cannot go and do lookalikes when you don't have enough data. When is it enough data? We have discussed a little bit about the pixels and when they get trained. So first of all, we have a pixel which is new. So what are you doing first? You're doing interests. If you cannot do interests because you don't have any interests, you have to find maybe some general interests, or you will have to do broad targeting with demographics, like for example, targeting only women in specific ages because this is what you think it's working. And of course, we have the crazy method, which is working very well for that, in order for you to eliminate the possibility of having an untrained pixel which doesn't know what to target, so you have better chances like this. We're going to talk about the crazy method on lookalikes in a little bit. So, in lookalikes, you're going to start using them when you have some data. When is the right time? It really depends on the niche. So if you have a very small niche, you need less data. If you have a very huge niche that it has a lot of people inside, you need more data. The whole idea here is that your pixel needs to have enough data in order to get the ideal avatar of your potential customer and the customer that is your dream client. So lookalike audiences. Let's say that for small niches, I would start using lookalike audiences after 100 sales, for example, okay? It's the same principle like the one that we have when we have one item stores. So when you have one item stores, when you have 100 sales, for example, 100 purchases, then you go and you can start creating some lookalikes. It doesn't mean that they're going to be effective, but it is the right timing for you to start actually tapping and try to see if they're going to work or not. Second thing, after that, you're going to try on 200 or 300 or 400. Before that, before the purchases, you can try to see if you're going to start doing lookalikes from initiate checkout people, from people who add to cart, for people who view content and stuff. So the more you fuel data, the more you start testing different custom audiences and lookalikes out of them in order to see how they're going to work. Let's talk now about the structures. The structures that you're going to have are going to be those. You're going to do, for example, a CBO campaign that you're going to have a budget. Again, the number of ad sets and the number of budget is really being decided by a simple equation that I have, but it's going to be improved by the time the more ads you do and the more you understand the ad account. Let me explain. So what you're doing is that you go and you watch, if you have no idea, you just do ads blindly. Let's say that you do $100 with 5 ad sets or 8 ad sets in order to see if you can get sales. But if you know, for example, in your ad account that you're running some ads, you go and you see what is the average cost per purchase that I'm getting between my different campaigns. And of course, exclude, if it's possible, retargeting, because it has completely different cost per purchase. So what are the numbers? If the number, for example, is 20, I'm getting $20 cost per purchase as an average with my cold traffic ads. What you're going to do is you're going to say, how much do I want to spend? I want to spend 100. Perfect. So you're going to do 100 divided by 20, which is your average cost per purchase, which means 5 ad sets. So what am I asking from Facebook for each one of my 5 ad sets? I'm asking to get a cost, I'm asking to get a purchase for every $20 spent on each one of these ad sets in the CBO. And then you're going to multiply this by 2. In that case, for example, you're going to have $100 spent in a CBO and you're going to have 10 ad sets. Why? Because you need to start optimizing and you need to go the next day and the next day and start seeing how much money is it spending across. First of all, you want to improve the $20 cost per purchase into your CBO campaign. Second thing is that you want to go and you want to see how much money is it spending across this ad set. Is it spending, for example, $2 in each one of them, $3? Then it's moving very slow. What am I going to do? I'm going to remove the 2 out of 10. I'm going to run it the next time with 8 to see if it's going to spend enough. Is it spending too much? For example, is it spending in all of my ad sets? I go the next day and I see 20, 20, 20, 20, and no sales. That means that it's moving very fast. What does it mean? That I need to add more ad sets so that it can spend in a slower rate between the ad sets, all the budget that I'm going to give it. And by doing this again and again and again, you're going to be able to understand how many ad sets you should have in each one of the budgets that you're going to decide for your CBO campaigns. This is the most important factor because you are going to be able through that to run crazy method, interest CBO campaigns, normal lookalike CBO campaigns. This is one of the most important things that nobody can teach you, but you can teach yourself through the experience that you're going to have in the ad account. And of course, by watching a lot of my videos, doing optimization in several accounts and stuff, which I'm doing. The difficult part here, guys, is not the strategy that you're going to have. The strategies are 1 million strategies here and there. The difficult part is the optimization of CBO accounts, and this is why a lot of times people are hiring people like me or somebody else who is having a lot of experience. They don't want us because of the strategies. Because the strategies are out there, Konstantinos is putting them on their YouTube channel, whatever. The problem is the CBO optimization. Even if I put 10 or 15 videos of CBO optimization, you need to do it on your own in several accounts in order to master it and learn it. And let me tell you that from the students that I have, it's taking them months or even a year to go and master it in the level that I have it, that I understand it. And of course, after that, I have to teach them also manual bidding and other more advanced stuff because it doesn't stop there. It's getting even more complicated after that. Now, the whole concept here, though, is to understand what we're talking about here, don't be lazy to think that you're going to follow a blueprint, but understand the whole philosophy in order to adapt it to your own ad account, because every business is completely different and every ad account is completely different. So that being said, we can have a structure like this, that we have a CBO campaign with a budget and the ads that we're going to decide, and we're going to learn more about the ad account by optimizing how many we should have. And we can have one campaign which is going to be, I'm going to talk only about lookalikes now. We're going to have one campaign with the lookalikes. For example, we're not going to start with any crazy method at the start. We're going to start with 1% in one ad set. The other ad set is going to have 1 to 2. The other ad set is going to have 2 to 3%. The other ad set is going to have 3 to 4. The other ad set is going to have 1 to 3. Another one, which is a good, it's 3%, 5%, and 10%. These are the ones that I have seen working the best. Have I seen having sales in 8 to 9%? Yes, in some cases. But let's say that you have a limited budget and a limited amount of ad sets. These are some of those that you can use. Now, at the start, I would like you not to go to very big lookalikes. So start with 1%, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, that's it. Don't go to 1 to 3%, which is going to give you a higher potential reach. As soon as you start seeing some results, you can start increasing the potential reach of the lookalikes. You can go to 5%, you can go to 10%. And then you can also do crazy method with one of these if you see that it's actually working very well. The thing here that you need to look is that, of course, in the United States, it's much more easier to do it like this. But if you go in another country, let's say, for example, in Greece, that I live here, if you do 1%, 1 to 2 to 3, the audiences are going to be very small. So in smaller countries, go with audiences like 5%, 10% immediately. Go to these higher, bigger numbers. Of course, in theory, always the 1% is always going to be better. But what can you do if 1% in your country, which is a small country, is only 50K people? Nothing. So after that, I came up with another idea, which was the blender method. What was the blender method? The blender method was all about, back in the days, just below the interests, we were having one button which was called expand audience. So what was doing is that you were putting one audience of 2 million, but it was actually starting with this audience and targeting 200 million people, the whole broad targeting of the demographics that you were adding there. If it was male 25 to 65 on the United States, it was going to target the whole thing, but start first as an initial pinpoint with this interest. So what I thought is that, what if we blend that with lookalikes? So you can put, let's say, for example, 1% lookalike, and you can put an interest below which is much higher than that. For example, you can put an 1% lookalike, for example, in the United States, which is going to be 2-3 million, and then put an interest below that, which is 8 million. And with this expand button, if you still have it in your account, or you can test to see what is the potential reach that you're going to get. You can go, for example, and target 8 million people, but this time start from the lookalike first as 1% as your starting point, and then move to the 8 million people, which is the interest. So this is a very interesting thing, because it was using the expand button as expand now in the interest and not in the whole potential reach. So you were putting on the top one lookalike like the 1%. And what I like to do is I was putting 1% add to cart lookalike and the 1% purchase lookalike. So we're having two lookalikes on the top and 2 interests on the bottom that they were giving me my full potential reach. And it was working flawlessly, because it was starting with the lookalike, even if it was small or whatever, it was starting with this core audience, and then it was expanding to the bigger audience, which was the interest. This was the blender method, and you could do all of the combinations that you wanted, as long as you keep the 1% purchase, 1% add to cart on the top, and then you were changing in the different ad sets the different interests. Second thing is that, and I'm going to take them by the line that I started inventing these different methods, is that I always believed, by the way, this is why because at the start the expand button was considered a very bad setting. I always believed that there are no bad settings, it's just bad use of them. Okay, so I found a way of actually being able to use this button at that point. Now the expand button is actually mandatory. So you will need to go and check if you can actually use it, and what is the potential reach that you are getting if you combine together lookalikes and interests. After that, I was the iOS came, and we were having a lot of issues. So in theory, as I said, the 1% lookalikes are always going to be the best. What happened after that is that, guys, after the 14.5 iOS changes, all the 1% lookalikes were not working. You were doing it in accounts, it wasn't working. So I started thinking why they don't work anymore. And the answer that came to my head is that at the same time I could see that the broad targeting was getting more and more and more space. And don't get me wrong, I was using the broad targeting even before the 14.5 iOS, but I realized that it was becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. And back in the days when I was using it before the iOS 14.5, I had the crazy method already, and people could not understand why I use broad targeting, because at that point, interests and of course lookalikes were considered very strong. So I was using it, and I was able to scale accounts where others they were not even using broad targeting at that point. So broad targeting became mainstream after the iOS 14.5 changes, because people didn't have the lookalikes to use anymore. They were not working. A lot of interests were removed, and then we had also the next interests that have been removed 1 year later in the next spring, and everybody was actually trying to find a solution with broad targeting because it was the only thing working. And of course, my crazy method kicked in there, and I was having very good results. But still, I believe that, okay, we still have lookalikes. We have to find a way of using them. And then I realized that, okay, what if the lookalikes that are going to work are going to be broad lookalikes? So I started using 10% lookalikes instead of 1%. And I realized that the 10% were working very well. And I have made one video which I was saying that bad advertisers still use 1% lookalikes. This thing is changing now. I will explain a little bit. So I said to myself, okay, 10% is working. Can we make it more? Can we make more of 10%, or just use just 1% each of the time? Because I like crazy method, and I have to use crazy method whenever I can. So I said to myself, what if we take the 10% of add to cart, 10% of purchase, 10% of initiate checkout, 10%, all of the 10% that we can get. Let me tell you which. So view content, top 25%. You can see all of these interests and custom audiences and how to create them in my 4+1 ways to retarget video. Then we have the Facebook engagers, Instagram engagers. You could put even people who view 95% of some of your trending videos. You could put initiate checkout, add to cart, purchase, view content. I said it. I think that's all. And then you were putting inside the ad set all of them. So instead of having just one lookalike of 10%, you were stacking them all together. And you were having, for example, in the United States, a potential reach of 50 million people with lookalikes, though. Not just with broad targeting, but lookalikes. So you had some direction to the pixel to go and find the specific audience. So that worked flawlessly, and I named this strategy stacked lookalikes. So basically, stacked lookalikes is all about stacking all the lookalikes of 10%. Now, you can do stacked lookalikes with 5%, you can do with 1%, whatever you want, as long as you stack them together so that you can use the full potential reach. I don't want you to stack 1% with 5% and 6 and 10% in the same, because all of those, they need to have exactly the same size. It's the same thing as when we group interests. When you group interests, if you put an interest of 20 million people and an interest of 1 million people, Facebook is going to spend all the money on the 20 million because it's easier for them to do it and for the algorithm to do it. So when you're stacking lookalikes, you need to stack exactly the same percentages so that you won't have any issues with the potential reach being so that you won't have any issues with the potential reach, first of all, but also spending all the money in just one lookalike. With this way, the budget either is going to be spread, or you're going to give enough chances to all of these lookalikes until Facebook decides to use one of them more because it's getting better results. So the fragmentation of the budget is going to be even better when you use the same, don't just use different ones. And even if you do, try to do it with ones that they are going to be the same. For example, 1%, 1 to 2%, 2 to 3%, if you want to stack them together, it's fine. If you want to stack together something with 1 million and 3 million, it's still fine. These are similar. But don't stack something with which has a potential reach of 20 million or an audience of 20 million and another one with 1 million, because it's not going to be served. So this was the stack lookalikes, and of course it was working with crazy method. You were putting several ad sets which are going to be exactly the same, all of them having inside the same stack lookalikes in each one of the ad sets with all of the interests together, so that you can target the different hot pockets. We have explained the crazy method, I believe, in the previous podcast. So in the previous podcast we explained the crazy method. So now you might say, how the fuck you don't remember in 1 week? A lot of things are happening in my life, sorry. We explained how the crazy method works in the previous podcast. Please go and listen it. From what I have seen from the engagement of it, I think that you really liked this video. What I would really like to know in the comments, if you understand 100% of the things that I'm saying, because I feel like sometimes it's super technical and maybe inside my head all of these are easy concepts for me to understand, but maybe they're not for you. And if it's not, you always have the option of putting the question, because I'm answering questions, and I'm going to do it even today with some of your questions in this podcast. So this was the beginning of the stacked lookalikes, and it went very well, guys. For 1 year and stuff, it went very well, which really proves my point about blueprints. You should not follow blueprints, but you should try to explain in the situation why. For example, until that point, I had the Blender method. Was the Blender method working equally well after the iOS? No. So what are you doing when you're following a blueprint? You're going to be left at some point with a method that maybe it's going to be outdated or it's not going to work, just because you follow blueprints and you don't understand in a deeper level and in a technical level how a platform is working. And I understand that some people, they just want to follow orders, but I think that the ones that are going to become much better on Facebook ads are the ones that are going to understand everything, and they are going to understand why they are doing this or that without just following blindly. This is why my CBO optimization is really based on your experience on how you're going to do it, and not just by following a blueprint, even if I have a very simple equation at the start in order to explain to you how many assets you should put and what kind of budgets. Now, after that point, it was working well for 1 year, but then I realized by testing, and it's still working very well, by the way, but I started thinking, but 1%, why did we abandon 1%? 1%, it's always going to be the best in theory. So I came up with another idea, and don't ask me how. It's about going to several other accounts. It's about talking to several people. It's about having aha moments when you are taking a shower. It's all of that, okay? When you live and breathe about Facebook ads, these things are happening. So it was really annoying me. Why 1% is not working anymore? Can we make it somehow to work? Because in theory, it's always the best. And I said, what if I create 1% lookalike, make it worldwide, because I had this option when I was creating. So when I was creating one lookalike, I saw the worldwide option and said, okay, let's create it. Let's play with it a little bit in the ad set. And I created a 1% lookalike. It was having 50 million people, let's say, in a United States account for a purchase. And then I put the 1% lookalike, and I'm putting as a country, United States. So basically my worldwide lookalike is going to take only the audience of the United States inside the lookalike. Do you know what I realized? It was targeting different people from different ad accounts to different countries when I was testing it. So in the United States, in another ad account, it was 20 million people. In another United States ad account, it was 30 million people. And it was always based, it was bigger and bigger and bigger. The better the pixel was, and the stronger the pixel was, and the more data that the pixel had. So I started thinking, why? If you put it as a worldwide and then you put the country, it has 20 million people potential hits. And when you create it as 1% lookalike, it has 2.33 million people. So I came to the conclusion that Of course, nobody couldn't answer it. Story of my life. And I came to the conclusion of what if, which, by the way, cannot prove anything, but it is a logical explanation. What if, by default, the 1% lookalike that you create in the United States, for example, it has to be 2.3 million? Because this is the 1%, okay? It's 2.3 million. But what if Facebook can find more people in the 1% similarity, but by default it has to populate 2.3 million people out of the 20 million people that it can populate, that they're similar to your people who purchased or added to cart or whatever. So I started thinking, and I said, are these other people uh, people that we don't want to target? Hell no, we want to target them because Facebook still considers them close to the 1% similarity. So what if we could use 1% lookalikes as worldwide, just narrow down to the country, and we can have 1% lookalikes, but bigger ones, okay? So the possibilities here are endless. Why? Because the problem here is that the 1% lookalike wasn't working anymore because it was very small and Facebook was favoring broader audiences. So with that way, I was able to actually target much bigger audiences while I was using 1% lookalikes. Sometimes it was like I was targeting with stacked lookalikes like this, which were having 20, 30 million people, but with 1% lookalike, just one lookalike, I was having 20 million. So what if Facebook is creating this 20 million pool, and then it's creating out of them 2.3 million just because the platform, it has a specific number for 1% lookalike for United States. Then, as a marketer, I want to target all the other 17 million people. And the other thing that I'm thinking here is this. Even if we go by the best intention and say that Facebook is taking the best ones to the 2.3 million, are there still sales to the other 17 million? Of course there are. So this is how the high society lookalike method came out. And this is how I started using 1% worldwide lookalikes by narrowing down in the country inside the ad set level. And it worked flawlessly. And after that, the stacked lookalikes high society came when I was putting 1% lookalikes worldwide for add to cart purchase, all of that. And I was narrowing down with the country. And it was working also flawlessly. Now, all of these are still working except from the Blender method, which is working, but I'm not using it anymore because I have the stacked lookalikes and stuff, and in most accounts I'm scaling, so I'm not bothered of using this method, which is all about starting with new pixels. I prefer to go with interests and then with lookalikes and then with crazy methods. So I think it's a little bit outdated on that side. But I'm starting to observing that right now I'm having some accounts which are new, and I'm starting using again 1%, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And I can tell you that these lookalikes are starting to work again. So I'm seeing that stacked lookalikes are working very well, for sure. I'm using them in several other accounts and I'm scaling. But for me, the reason is that, okay, it's close to broad targeting if you put such a lot. What happens if you have smaller and newer pixels and you want to go deeper to lookalikes? Guys, 1% lookalikes, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, they started working again well. And I feel that it has to do with the 28 days attribution coming back, which is going to help also in some interest coming back, and also for 1% lookalike maybe working better. I think that's all I have about lookalikes. You should start using again 1%. I think you will find it interesting that maybe it's going to work again if you're disappointed with it, because in several accounts it's working. That's all about lookalikes in 2023. I hope you like the way that I found the methods and the way that I'm structuring it. And if you haven't tested any of those, you can watch some of my videos and you can go and you can test them on your own. So, how much time? 39. Okay, perfect. So let's go now for the different questions so that we can answer them, and then we can close the podcast. So, question number 1. Hi Konstantinos, how many days do you give a crazy method campaign to run without any sales when you first started? Also, if you determined it's not working, do you try again with the same ad set or another one? Now, based on the second thing that you said, the crazy method is all about scaling. We are not using the crazy method if we haven't seen that one ad set or ad is working, because it's all about, hey, I'm having one ad set which is working, which is targeting 20, 30 million people. How can I target more people inside this pool audience? Because I'm targeting them very slow, in a very slow rate with just one ad set that I have. So this is the crazy method. You create it and you target the different hot pockets over there in order to get more results and faster, and also to scale your accounts. So yes, you're going to relaunch it. You can relaunch it and you can try it another time or with more adsets, less adsets. For example, if you have done what we talked earlier before and you see that they are not spending enough every day, or if you see that they spend a lot, have less. So you're going to do it like this if you have proof from a previous ad set that it was actually working, and you should not abandon it immediately. Second thing, how many days do I give a crazy method? Back in the days, guys, before I was touching them the first day, but we had better reporting at that point and not delayed reporting. The other thing is that I need to tell you that when I'm touching them is different in terms of its account. For example, if you have an account that you're running crazy method and you have items that they have high average order value and stuff and they need more time to sell, you're more flexible with it. If you see that you're having another account which is having big delayed reported, you are more flexible with it and you're checking a lot the checkouts. If you're seeing a lot of checkouts, you're being more flexible and you understand if you want to keep it or not. If you see 0 checkouts, on the second day you have to close it, I guess, okay? Or maybe relaunch it. Then you watch the clicks. For example, if I'm having a lot of campaigns and my cost per click in the other campaigns is 0.6 cents per click, per cost per unique click, and my CTR is 3%, and I'm seeing in these new ads that they have $3 cost per unique link click and 0.8 CTR, something is wrong and you will have to close it because you're not getting the same cost of traffic over there. So it's not like having sales or not. It's about, do you have a lot of delayed reported in the country or in the other account based on your experience? Do you think that you put it enough number of adsets inside? Do you have an adset that it was actually tested so that you can relaunch it? Do you see a lot of checkouts over there so that you can give it more days for some delayed reporting and some delayed sales to be reported so that you can see what you're going to optimize? It's all of these things. Now, if you see nothing, obviously in the second day you will have to close it, okay? I wouldn't let it more than 48 hours. And you might see a lot of videos in YouTube talking about leaving the ads for 7 days and stuff. With the crazy method and the CBO way that we are working, in 2 days you can know if you can leave something or just abandon it and try something else. So 7 days, I think it's too much. Now, here, I have one comment in my group. It says, "Hi people, excited to be here. I have a question. I tested the product in multiple stores. I got high sales with low CPP, cost per purchase, on one store and got less sales or none on other stores. Some of my friends face the same issue with a single product in different stores. What factors would we decide it?" I don't know how to read this. What factors would have decided this behavior? First of all, I'm doing one basic question over here. Are all the stores that you're testing the same? Because you cannot compare sending the same creative event, the same ad, whatever, to one landing page and to another landing page and say why it's not converting here or there. Guess what? The problem is the landing page. If it's converting in one landing page and not converting in the other, the problem is the landing page. And he says, nope, the stores are different. Then your problem is on the stores. He says, we had high results on one store and we tried to do it the same on another and paused. and paused there for some reason, but it didn't get sales on the new store. I have faced this several times in last year. I'm unable to comprehend this behavior. Does the algorithm have to do something with this? And then I say, same landing pages on the stores. Apparently, if the pixel is the same and everything is the same, like one store and everything is the same, they like one store more than the other, and it converts better here. There. Think of what is changing. Is it only the domain name? Everything else is the same. And he says, domain names are different. Shopify is different. Undercounts and business managers are different. Pixel is different. Everything is different. Just the product is the same. And its landing page is almost the same. So guys, here, and I have nothing with Muhammad here, but Muhammad is lying to himself. Because he's saying, I have the same product, so even if I put it in store A or store B or store C, it has to sell. No. It's selling with the way that you have it. So, by the way, here by discussion, you can understand that there are more problems. Different ad accounts, different businesses. The businesses, based on the amount that you spend, they give you better traffic or worse traffic. If you have a lot of spend on a business manager. This is a fact, we know it. Another thing is that the ad accounts, they have behaviors and maybe one ad account is going to do better than the other. How do we know that? When I'm scaling businesses and sometimes we have hidden limits in some ad accounts, we tried to use several ad accounts. I can tell you that we never had the results that we had in the main ad account. We never had such good results in any spend in the second or third ad account. So this is how I understood that the ad accounts that they have a lot of spend and stuff, they have also better results and they have their own behavior. How else do I know it? There are accounts that they just work with Advantage Plus just because this is the only ads that they were doing since the beginning, and if you try anything else, it doesn't work. Okay, so there are the situation. Then we have the pixel. The pixel is 90% of the job. If you have a different pixel, it doesn't mean just because you have a profitable store, it's going to be the same everywhere. Even if you were sending people in the same landing page that it's converting well with the same product and you have a different pixel, you would have different results. And this is what he didn't understand, that the product is not dictating the sales. The landing page and the pixel are dictating the sales, and the product has to be good. But all of the other, basically, and the product has to be good, and the pixel has to be good, everything has to be good, and everything is a chain link, which if you're missing one link, then the whole thing crumbles and it doesn't work. So you don't have the same pixel. You have and almost the same landing page, not even the same landing page. So here's your answer. You cannot just say that this item item A is going to sell no matter where you put it or with whatever pixel where you put it, because you might spend in one ad account $1 million to it and in another ad account $500. It's not going to have the same results and the pixels are not going to be the same. Okay, now let's go to the next question. Hello, I got a question. Do you exclude retargeting audience from cold audience? I have a hotel ads, usually do this. I exclude page viewers 180 days and social, Instagram and Facebook 360 days from cold targeting, and usually make remarketing with other creative for 30 page views. You think it's correct? I don't think it's correct. I think that the only reason that you should exclude customers, and we have discussed this in a previous podcast that we were discussing about retargeting, is when you have something that nobody else can buy again. You have to understand that Facebook is all about repeated customers and having repeated sales. And even if you think that this is a customer that would have come anyway, my suggestion is, okay, then don't run ads, number one, and see if he was going to come. And I can promise you that in 5 months, he's going to forget you. And the second thing is that and you might say to that, yeah, I have alternative ways like SMS and email. Fine. But still, the person that is, if Facebook is stealing one sale from targeting from other channels, it's being used for optimization. And this optimization is going to help you get more clients. So the more data that you fuel it in, even if it's stealing some, the more data it's going to give you and the more sales it's going to give you. Now, I don't understand 360 days, Instagram and Facebook, people who engage with the social media, these are not even people that who have converted. So if someone is engaging with your social media, it doesn't mean that they have been to your site necessarily. Why? Because all of our ads are considered posts. So somebody watching a video, he's engaging with our social media, which is our page, because our ads are being published by our pages. So this person might have seen 1 second of the video, and you're not going to retarget them. You're not going to target them again on your cold traffic ads. Why? They might have not even ever been to your funnel, inside your landing page or whatever. So I consider this a very good practice, very bad practice. As I said, it doesn't matter if Facebook is stealing a sale, because if it's using that in order to get us another cold traffic sale that we wouldn't have because it didn't have this data, then it's fine. I'm against of excluding people that they have been to the site on the last 180 days or the social media or whatever. I can understand some logic behind excluding people that they have purchased in the last 30 days. I can get that. But even in my cold traffic ads, I don't do it. I just do it in retargeting. But let's say that we have a company that when somebody buys, they're not going to buy for the next 20, 30 days because first their product has to be depleted and then buy. Okay, so that's fine. You can do that, I guess, but excluding all the people and I actually remember that I told him that you should not do that, because this is not a good practice to always want to have fresh clients from Facebook. He told me, why is this a bad practice? And it is a bad practice because even the data of retargeted customers, they're going to be used as optimization. As we said a lot of times, Facebook is all about having repeated customers. And if you think that you don't want, I'm sure that you want the repeated customers. You just want the repeated customers just to come out of thin air and not from Facebook. And you don't believe that Facebook is helping to that because you have email marketing and SMS marketing. My answer to these people is that if you have the guts, stop running Facebook ads for 1 year and see this number of repeated customers just decline. Because the moment you're going to do it, you're going to see that. If you're that good and you're just having repeated customers, with that way you can maintain it the same, fine. Still accept the fact that these sales that Facebook is going to steal, you can consider them as another data point that's going to help you get more new clients. That's all about it. I'm totally against it, just to answer. And I think that I answered to him to all of his questions after that. Now, we have Joseph says, please help. I'm trying to run a simple ad, but I keep getting rejected with ad can't run third-party infringement policy. But I own the rights to all the photos I'm trying to upload. No matter what photo, text, or type of ad I run, it keeps getting rejected. When I request for review, still get rejected, and I cannot talk to anyone from Meta. So frustrating. I don't know why I put this question. I don't think that I have many things to say about it. The only thing that I have to say about it is that when you have rejected ads, it's better for you to go through the review process. Let me tell you that sometimes you might go with the same 10 ads, ask for review. It's going to approve the 4 and just disapprove the other 6, which doesn't make any sense. How is approving 4 and 6? So I think it's trying to find a common a solution there. Another thing is that if you have all the rights to the photos, so I had a situation once with one freelancer which was working from Fiverr, and she was saying to the person that you have all the rights to these photos, but he was actually stealing the photos. So are you sure that you have the right for the photos, or this is what the designer is telling to you? Third thing is that if you're still getting rejected, you can do nothing about it. And I would strongly suggest to you not to keep pushing it, because you will end up getting banned because you have too many rejected ads. And this is something that you need, so if you're getting, anyway, it's a nightmare. If you're getting rejected, you can try something else. If you don't want to do that, be careful of not doing all this time the same ads. And even if you have rejected ads that they stayed, just try to delete them from the account. Don't just keep them there open, rejected ads, because it's bad for the health of your ad account. And the last thing that I want to say is that if you ever manage to contact customer support, you can contact customer support in order to do a custom review of the ads with you, and maybe they can tell you why they're being rejected or not. I know how frustrating it is. I know that the customer support is bad, but this is also another solution that you can try if the automated system of review is actually rejecting all of your ads. Other than that, there's nothing else to do. Just keep trying with new creatives and don't force the same creatives all over again and again and again, because you might get banned. That's all with your questions. Let's go to Freelancer Diaries just to close it. I'm getting some strange messages from time to time from people that they just want to come and live with me. Like I have a camp over here of marketeers that they come and we can be all together and do ads. And this is a message that somebody sent me on Upwork. How would you feel about mentoring us? We both have zero experience, sir. We would like to learn anything really, without getting in your way, and wouldn't mind helping you out. We would be thankful from anything we can learn from you. We live in Utah, so we would like to come to you if that's all right with you. So basically, I have a proposal of having two people, from what I understand. It says we both. Okay, so it's two people, thank God. So there are two people that they apparently want to come and live with me. And they don't want to get into my way, but they want to learn from me. I don't know what they want to learn. Which was a funny proposal that I had, and I thought that I should share it with you. And they are actually here with us. Amir, I'm kidding, they are not here. Anyway, that's all I had for you with the podcast. And I hope you liked the lookalikes. I think that I explained them thoroughly. Let me know on the comments if you have any questions so that we can answer them in the next podcast. And what else? That's all, I guess, guys. I will see you in the next podcast. Have a nice day. This was the Facebook Ads Breaking News Podcast. Like it or not, it is what it is.